Hello, students. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and doing well. And I hope you have completed the previous chapters of our chemistry part. Now we are going to begin the biology part of our standard 10 science, and the name of our chapter is life process. Life process means what? The Earth happens to be the only planet having a life. There are beings who live, die, and become part of nature again. Means at the end of our life, when we become dead, we again go and mix with the nature. The living organism can be differentiated from the intimate entities of various parameters of life process. It means that we are some in life process. It means the life existing creatures are have different parameters in their life. They have different kind of processes in their life. That is what we are going to study in that chapter, that different process very essential for living a life, that is known as life process, in which we will going to study life process. In that, many processes are there which are continue in our life in and also essential for our life. And whenever we are waking up or when we are sleeping, even that's a few many process are continue going on in our body. Even when we are resting or when we are sleeping, as you have studied in 9th standard, voluntary and involuntary actions. Okay, so even for example, heart beating, that is continue. Even we are walking, sleeping, even we are not thinking about our heart, we are thinking something else, but heart is continuously doing their work. Like this, so many processes are present in our body which keeps continuous doing their work. The process which perform the function of maintenance of life is called life process, which means that this is the definition of life process. It means there, and for maintaining a good life, many processes are going on. That all processes are known as life process. Some of them are nutrition, respiration, circulation, excretion are example of essential life processes. In unicellular organism, these processes are carried out by single cell. In multicellular, well-developed systems are present to carry out this processes. Means if we are eating and we are getting energy, that is nutrition process. Respiration process means taking of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide, which is very essential for our body. Circulation means heart beating and the blood circulation from heart to different organs of the body, and from different organs of the body again to heart. That complete process is known as circulation. Excretion means the removal of unwanted thing from our body. These all processes are very much complex in humans, as humans are multicellular organism, and unicellular organism like amoeba, paramecium, in that it is in a very simple form, because they have a very simple structure, that is they have the unicellular organism. First, we are going to study about nutrition. So what is nutrition? Nutrition means the food required for the air, for getting energy or for the nourishment of our body is known as nutrition. And there are two main modes of the nutrition, means two main types of the nutrition, that is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. And autotrophic is not further divided into any parts, but heterotrophic is further divided into three parts, that is holozoic, saprophytic, and parasitic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition. If an organism can nourish itself by making its own food using sunlight or chemicals, such mode of nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition. Means they, for example, plants, they make their own food with the help of sunlight, chemicals, and carbon dioxide, water. They comes under autotrophic nutrition. They don't have to depend on anyone for their food. And the exact opposite to it is heterotrophic nutrition, in that the organism which depends on another organism or on the plants or for their food, that is known as heterotrophic nutrition. Students, the difference between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition is a very important question, mostly asked many times in the exam. So please prepare that question. Plants photosynthesize are called photoautotrophs. Few bacteria use chemicals to derive energy are called chemoautotrophs. Now photosynthesis, as we have studied that in autotrophic nutrition, plants make their own food. So how they are making their own food? They are making their own food by the process of photosynthesis. And how the process of photosynthesis takes place? Process of photosynthesis takes place in the green plants in the form of carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, and in presence of chlorophyll. So what is we all aware about carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, and all? What is chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is the reason because of which the greenish part of the leaf we can see. Inside the leaf there is a structure called chloroplast, and inside chloroplast there is a chlorophyll. Because of the chlorophyll, the leaves or the plants can be seen greenish to us. We have studied photosynthesis in our lower classes, but now we are going to study the exact steps, what is going to happen in the scientific way. So first, absorption of sunlight. Absorption of sunlight means for the plants get the sunlight from the sun. That is the first point. So in the process of photosynthesis, first the plants get the sunlight. So plants absorb the sunlight. Conversion of light energy into chemical energy means the light energy, that is the sunlight is giving plants light, that is light energy. Inside plants the process is going on, that complete process that is known as chemical energy. So conversion of light energy into chemical energy and splitting of water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. As we all know, water molecule consists of H2O, and splitting means breaking down. Means if H2O breaks down, it will form hydrogen and oxygen. Reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate means carbon dioxide will be converted into carbohydrate, that is the food of a plant. Carbohydrate means we can take the example of glucose, that is C6H12O6. So this is the entire process of photosynthesis. Now we are going to study about stomata. Stomata is also a topic which you have already studied in the 9th standard biology part. But again we are going to study what is the stomata and what is its main work. The main work of stomata is for exchange of gases, and stomata are placed on the underside of the leaf, and they are guarded by the guard cell. As we all know, the name itself, guard cells. Guard cells means they're getting the guarded, means a protection. Stomata gets the each stomata get the protection by the guard cell, and the guard cell only controls the opening and closing of stomatal pore. And what is the work for opening and closing of stomata? As you can see in the figure, an closed stomata and an open stomata. So closing, when the stomata needs or when the leaf needs nourishment, exchange of gases, means the leaves need gas like carbon dioxide or oxygen, or the leaves needs water, the stomatal pore gets open. When it is open, the water and the gases move inside the stomata, and when the enough amount of water and gases are collected inside the stomata will again close itself. So when it is closed, it will use all the water and the gases, and when all it's used, again the stomatal pore will be open. Now, saprophytic nutrition. As you all know, here we have seen saprophytic nutrition will comes under the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In heterotrophic mode of nutrition, there will be saprophytic mode of nutrition. So basically, now we are studying heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition means some organisms feed on dead and decaying organic matter. This mode of nutrition is called saprophytic nutrition, means the organism which depend on the dead plants of the dead parts of the plants or the another organism. That kind of organism is known as saprophytic nutrition. Means any animal is dependent on another dead animal or the dead parts of the plants, that kind, and gets the nutrition nutrition, that kinds of nutrition is known as saprophytic mode of nutrition. The food is partly digested outside the body, then it is absorbed. For example, fungi are saprophytes. Now, second one is parasitic nutrition. Some organisms feed on the expense of another organism and in turn causing it harm. This is called parasitic mode of nutrition. These organisms live on the body or in the body of a host and derive the nutrients directly from the host. It means that one organism live inside or outside of that or on the another organism, means one organism is living inside another organism or on that organism and gets the nutrition. That kind of nutrition is known as parasitic mode of nutrition. Example is leech. Leech is an endoparasite while ascaris is an endoparasite. Cuscuta is an parasitic plant. It means that one organism depends on the another organism for the food. They depends on the another organism for the food, but both of them do not harm. One more example in a simple language, if I tell you, on the buffalo many times we can see birds sitting on the back of the buffalo. So when they are sitting on the back of the buffalo, why they are sitting there? So they eat the dead organisms or the small animals, small bees or insects that are placed on the body of the buffalo. So they eat that and get the nutrition. So it helps it to get the nutrition. The buffalo doesn't get harm, but it also doesn't get any kind of profit. Like this, the bird gets the profit of getting its food. This comes under parasitic mode of nutrition. Now holozoic nutrition. For holozoic nutrition in amoeba we are going to study. This is one more important question on the exam point of view. This complete nutrition in amoeba, including this figure, students have to learn for their exams. How the nutrition in amoeba takes place. In amoeba, as you can see, amoeba is a unicellular organism. It consists of it's one nucleus and there is cytoplasm inside the amoeba, and also it is a single celled organism. Okay, so when it sees its food particles, it makes a finger like projection, as you can see in the second step, that is ingestion. It makes a finger like projection, and that finger like projection is known as pseudopodia. So it makes it pseudopodia and moves the food closer. As the food moves nearer to the amoeba, it start getting digestion, and it makes for the digestion it makes a food bag or food vacuole. So this in the digestion, that small thing that formed is known as food vacuole, and after making food vacuole, the digestion, it goes through absorption and assimilation. Absorption and assimilation means that completely food is digested now by the amoeba. And again, that is egestion. Egestion means the removal of the food, unwanted thing from that amoeba. Now the most important thing that we are going to study is that nutrition in humans. Nutrition in humans or the digestive system in humans, both are same. If in exams the question is nutrition in humans or write the digestive system for the humans, the answer will be same. Don't get confused on this. And this is the most important, this all process which we are going to study. This is first we are starting from the digestive system. After that we are going to study respiratory, circulatory, transportation and excretion system. All the systems are very much important of this chapter. This all will contain a very good amount of marks. First we are, and for this nutrition in humans also there will be a figure. So students, you have to learn to draw this figure in a colorful and a nice manner. Digestion in humans or nutrition in humans. Humans are omnivorous. They can eat plant-based food as well as animal-based food. Means humans are eating both plants as well as another animals. So humans are also comes under the heterotrophic nutrition. They are not autotrophic. Many times students get confused that in autotrophic nutrition means they make their own food. So humans are also making their own food. No, so humans will also come in autotrophic nutrition, but no, they are making their, they are not making their own, they are cooking their own food, or they are growing their own food. Making their own food means the plants are only the products that they are making their own food. Humans are dependent on the autotrophic nutrition for their food. So humans are the examples of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So humans can eat plants as well as animals. So they are omnivorous, and they have the very complex nutrition system. As you can see from the figure itself, it's a complicated structure. As you have seen in amoeba, it was very simple, but in human it is going to be quite complex, and the big digestive system. The digestive system has an alimentary canal and associated digestive glands which together function to nourish the body. The main organs of human digestive system are mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine and large intestine. So these are some of the main organs. Other than that, many organs are there like liver, pancreas and gallbladder. The main glands associated with the digestive system are salivary gland, liver, and pancreas. So these are some of the main glands. Please take care about the difference between organs and glands. Now digestion in so first when we talk about digestion, how when the digestion is start, so digestion is started from the mouth itself. Don't think that the food is digested only in the stomach or in the intestines or in pancreas or somewhere. No, the digestion of food will start as soon as you are keeping the food in your mouth. The digestive system is beginning its work. So first we are going to study about digestion in my students, as I have written here in order. The same order for the digestive system you have to follow. It's compulsory. Digestion in mouth. Food is ingested through mouth. Ingested means taken. You can write food is taken through mouth. Humans put the food in the mouth through their hands, and parallel the digestion starts. As I have already told you, as you are keeping food inside your mouth, the digestive system starts from that time itself. Digestion through teeth. Teeth cut the food into small pieces, chew it and grind it. So after inside the mouth there are few organs like teeth, tongue. So for the work of the teeth is cutting it into small pieces, chewing it and grinding it. Salivary glands. Salivary glands secrete saliva in mouth. It is a watery liquid and it wets the food in mouth. It is easy to swallow. It is easy to swallow wet food. Okay, so saliva, what is saliva doing? Inside the mouth, it is having salivary gland. So salivary glands will secrete saliva and makes the food watery, and because the food is watery and wet, the food is very easily digested further. Salivary gland secretes an enzyme called amylase, or you can tell salivary amylase, which digests the starch of food into maltose. So what the salivary gland will secrete saliva. From salivary gland, saliva is formed, but from salivary gland to forming a saliva, an enzyme is required. Enzyme means biological catalyst is required, and that enzyme, that name of that enzyme is salivary amylase, which helps in digestion of starch. The starch gets digested into maltose. Then the action of tongue comes. The tongue mixes the food with the saliva. The digestion of starch begins from the mouth. As the food remains in the mouth for a short time, it does not get digested completely in the mouth. Means in the mouth, now the work of mouth, inside the mouth there is tongue, teeth, saliva. These all are helping in digestion, but complete digestion it does not occur in the mouth itself. From mouth, now the food will move through the esophagus. The partly digested food comes down the esophagus, or you can say food pipe. The main function of esophagus is to push the food down to stomach. Now, what is the function of stomach? Stomach is present on the left side of the abdomen. Food is churned in stomach for nearly 3 hours. During this time, the food is broken down into smaller pieces and converted into semi-solid paste. The wall of the stomach contains three tubular glands which secrete gastric juice. Gastric juice contains dilute hydrochloric acid, an enzyme called pepsin, and mucus. Now, what is the function of all these three? Dilute hydrochloric acid. Owing to the presence of hydrochloric acid, the gastric juice is acidic in nature. The enzyme pepsin can digest protein present in the food and convert into smaller molecules only in the presence of acid. Therefore, the function of hydrochloric acid is to create an acidic medium in the stomach. It also kills the bacteria that enters the stomach through food. Pepsin. Pepsin helps in digesting protein and converting food into smaller molecules. Mucus. Stomach produces mucus to protect its own cells from the damage by hydrochloric acid. Small intestine and digestion in small intestine. The partly digested food then moves from stomach to small intestine. This transport of food from stomach to small intestine is controlled by sphincter muscle. Sphincter muscle allow the food to pass into the small intestine. The small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal. It is about 6.5 meter long in adult person. Means from the esophagus the food moves to from the stomach the food is moving to small intestine, and small intestine is here the most of the digestion. A complete digestion will take place in the small intestine, and small intestine from coming from stomach to small intestine they are needed of a is controlled by sphincter muscle, and this small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal. Don't get confused over here that small intestine is the longest part. Don't think that small intestine it's a small in size and large intestine is only the large in size. Small intestine is the largest part of the alimentary canal, or you can tell of the digestive system, and here the complete digestion of carbohydrate, proteins and fats takes place. And also this small intestine, one thing let me tell you, small intestine is more bigger in the grass eating animals, because in grass the presence of cellulose is there. So small intestine is more bigger in the grass eating animals as compared to humans. And inside the small intestine will contain the digestion of liver and pancreas. Don't think that inside the small intestine we are discussing about liver and pancreas. So inside after small intestine the food moves to liver and pancreas. No, the digestion will first mainly takes place in the small intestine, but the small intestine will receive the digested food of the liver and pancreas. So what happens in liver, as we have discussed, in the stomach there is hydrochloric acid. So the acidic food which are coming to the liver makes it in the alkaline, will convert into alkaline means into basic form. The basic form means making it neutral, and it contains bile salts. So it converts the alkaline food so it converts the acidic food to alkaline, and the enzymes, so that enzymes of pancreas can act over it. In addition to this, bile salts breaks the fat present in the food into small globules, which makes it easy for the enzyme to act and digest them. The pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, which contains enzymes such as amylase, trypsin and lipase. The function of this pancreas is secreting the pancreatic juice and these enzymes. The work of these enzymes are very much important, mostly asked in the 1 marks question. Student, please note this and remember it. Amylase will digest starch, trypsin will digest protein, and lipase will digest fat. The glands of the walls of the small intestine secretes intestinal juice. Intestinal juice contains various enzymes which complete the digestion of carbohydrate into glucose, protein into amino acids, and glycerol. So the internal surface of the small intestine has finger-like projection called villi. This finger-like projection called villi, they increase the area of the absorption. That's why the villi-like structure is present. In common pancreatic duct from pancreas and liver opens in the duodenum. Now the digested food will enter into the large intestine. The large intestine in human is about 5 feet long. It has two regions, colon and rectum. The region of large intestine after ileum is called colon, where the last part is called rectum. Colon has three regions: ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon. At the base of ascending colon, a small finger-like outgrowth is seen, is called appendix. Student, you can see that in the figure. It houses many useful bacteria required for digestion of food. Rectum opens to outside by anus. Anus has an internal and external and sphincter. If we are talking about pancreas, which we have discussed there, it's behind in stomach, and in that it secretes also insulin and glucagon. Student, this is not very much important because it's not included in your textbook, but it's only for your information. Otherwise, what we have studied here about pancreas, only that much if you will write, it's okay. It's okay for that. So these are the about pancreatic enzymes and all. So holozoic, now the digestive system is over. Now we are going to study about holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is also a part of heterotrophic nutrition. The mode of nutrition in which animals take their food as a whole is called holozoic nutrition. In holozoic nutrition, food passes through 5 steps as ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. And so what is heterotrophic nutrition? When organisms depends on another for food, such a mode of nutrition is called heterotrophic mode of nutrition. This organism depends on autotrophs for the nutritional requirements. Example, animals which eat plants as their food are called herbivorous. Animals which eat their other animals as their food are called carnivorous. Holozoic, saprophytic, and parasitic are the types of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So now here we have completed our nutrition part. In the next part we will going to see about the respiration and its types and its parts, and how in the humans the respiratory system is working. Up to that, study this. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.